I found this heavy tool in a toolbox, and I'm not sure what it does. It's about 4 feet long, made of steel with a red shaft, and weighs around 10 pounds. There's a large cylindrical sliding weight near the top, a welded side handle with a rubber grip, and a threaded bottom end with a removable magnetic tip. The marking says, Taylor Tools. Does anyone know what it is?
This object is a Taylor Tools Model 870 concrete nail driver. It works using a manual slide hammer mechanism. You load a nail onto the magnetic tip at the bottom, position it on the surface, then lift and slam the large cylindrical weight downward along the shaft. Each strike transfers force straight into the nail, driving it into hard concrete. The side handle keeps the tool steady, and the magnetic tip holds each nail in place so you can drive it without bending down. It's a simple, durable design that relies on momentum rather than any motor.
What is this rusty metal contraption I found in an abandoned building? It has a fuel tank on the bottom, and it looks like it was painted red at one point. Everything is seized up now, nothing moves anymore. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a plumber's furnace. It's a portable heating unit that plumbers relied on for their work in the field. The fuel tank at the bottom feeds the burner above it, generating the intense heat a plumber needed on the job. Traditionally, this kind of furnace was used to melt materials like lead and to heat soldering irons for joining pipes together. Because these tools saw heavy use in industrial and construction settings, many were simply left behind in buildings like the one you explored, slowly rusting away over the years.
This steel spike has been sitting on my desk for years. It's about 18.5 centimeters long and weighs 48 grams. It has gilt decoration, the initials SHF, and a small piece of brass inset about 5 centimeters from the tip. It may have come from a collection of antique militaria. Does anyone know what it is?
What you have looks like the tang and blade section of a small sword. You can tell by the triangular blade profile, which is etched and gilt. Small swords carried this distinctive three-sided cross-section, and yours shows the fine decorative work typical of these pieces. Based on the style and construction, this one likely dates to the late 18th or early 19th century. The initials SHF were probably added by an owner or maker, giving your fragment a personal connection to whoever once carried the full weapon.
What is this wooden box I found at an estate sale? It measures about 8.5 inches wide, 10 inches long, and 6 inches high, with metal cylinders inside. The front metal section has little hinged squares that open and close, and there's a paper slip attached to the bottom. Any ideas?
This object is a scale model of a steam boiler furnace. In a full-size version, fuel burns inside the firebox, and those little hinged squares represent the fire doors and dampers used to feed the fire and control airflow. The metal cylinders stand in for the boiler drums, where water is heated into steam to power engines or machinery. As a miniature, it reproduces the working layout of a real boiler on a much smaller scale, letting you see how the components fit together.
I've had this sterling silver pendant for years, but never identified it. It's an oval piece with a standing figure wearing a 3-pointed crown and flowing robes, with a sash reading MAQ across the chest. Below is a blank banner meant for engraving. The back is marked sterling silver. Any ideas?
This object is most likely a Miss Australia pageant pendant. That's the key to the letters MAQ, which stand for the Miss Australia Quest, the official name of the organization from 1926 to 1992. The crowned, robed figure closely matches photographs of the pageant's winners in their ceremonial regalia. The blank banner beneath was probably meant for engraving a participant's name or year. Pieces like this were likely given to contestants or organizers rather than sold as royal commemoratives, which explains why the crown never matched any British cipher.
My son found this near our home with his metal detector. We live in West Michigan, and we think there was an old well nearby that once served part of the town. It's a rusted metal tool, about 7 inches by 2.5 inches. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a spark plug wrench with a screwdriver, the kind that comes packaged with a chainsaw. It's a simple combination tool. One end is a socket sized to fit and turn the spark plug, letting you remove or tighten it for cleaning or replacement. The other end forms a screwdriver for the various screws on the saw. Because it's basic stamped metal, it rusts easily once left outdoors, which explains its condition after sitting in the ground for years.
I bought this at a well-known used tool shop years ago. It's a heavy cast iron tool, about 43 inches long, with a wooden handle. The metal head is around 5.75 inches across, and the whole thing weighs about 15 pounds. It's marked C.J. McCarthy Company, Boston. They told me it was a dirt tamper, but it's far too heavy and small to compress soil evenly. Does anyone know what it really is?
This is a hand rammer, most likely used for packing down and leveling road asphalt by hand. Its narrow, heavy head is the key. When you lift it and drop it, that concentrated weight drives straight down into loose asphalt, compressing it firmly into place. Unlike a wide soil tamper, which spreads force over a larger area, this tool focuses all of its mass into a small footprint, which is exactly what you want for pressing dense paving material tight. That heft you noticed isn't a flaw. It's the whole point of the design.
I found this in a drawer that probably hasn't been opened in almost 10 years. It's about the length of my index finger, and it feels heavy, like stainless steel. There seems to be a graphite tip on the end, but I can't find any way to extend or retract it. Does anyone know what it is?
It's a mechanical pencil, most likely a sterling silver model. If you search for sterling silver mechanical pencils, you'll find many examples that look very similar to this one, aside from the details on the end. There are even gilded pendant versions designed to be worn or carried as an accessory. The graphite tip you noticed confirms it was made for writing, and the substantial weight comes from the silver construction. These were valued as elegant, long-lasting writing instruments rather than disposable tools.
What is this wave-shaped porcelain dish I found in a construction salvage yard? It's about an inch deep, a foot long, and 5 inches wide. It's stamped 1948, and the brand reads Standard, in the same font as American Standard. There are no holes, so it can't be drained or hung, and it's surprisingly heavy. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a grinding and polishing trough, the kind used by dentists or jewelers. It's designed to sit around a benchtop, grinding or polishing wheel. As the wheel spins, it throws off tiny particles, dust, and debris at high speed. The curved, wave-shaped hood of this trough catches all that flying material, keeping it contained on the workbench rather than scattering across the room. Its heavy build kept it stable during use, which is why it wasn't mounted or grouted down. Modern versions of the same tool are still made today.
What are these two light wooden rods, painted yellow and pink with 2 black lines? They taper toward one end, with wide grooves near the thicker pink end and small indentations at the tip of the thinner yellow end. They aren't quite identical. When I line them up, the black lines don't match. Does anyone know what these are?
These are dandiya sticks. They're used during Navratri, the annual Hindu harvest festival, to reenact the mythical battle between the goddess Durga and the demon Mahishasura. The indentations at the tips are likely marks left from a lathe during shaping, which also explains why the two are not perfectly identical. You can find sets like this from sellers such as the Om Puja shop, offered in exactly these bright colors. They remain a common part of the festival celebration today.
What is this heavy cast iron piece I found in an old garage? It stands about 20 centimeters tall, has a bolt on one end, and is covered in blue hammered paint. There's a stamp on it that reads Perma Rest. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a leg for a bed frame made by Perma Rest. The bolt end is designed to thread into the corner of a metal bed frame, holding it up off the floor. According to a Perma Rest product document, a special spanner tool was likely used to install and tighten the leg into place. The hammered blue finish is a classic industrial paint style. This is a functional piece of old bedroom furniture hardware.
What is this small blue metal ring I found near a pond? It's anodized, about 1 inch across, weighs only 2 grams, and it's not magnetic. It looks machined, but I have no idea what it belongs to. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a bezel from the spool of a spinning reel. likely from a cast king or Okuma model. The blue color comes from anodizing, a process that adds a hard, colored oxide layer to aluminum, which is why it's so light and non-magnetic. This part fits onto the reel spool as a component of the assembly. Given that it turned up near a pond, it almost certainly came loose from someone's fishing gear during a day out on the water.
What is this heavy iron object? It's rusty and completely solid, and it looks like it was sand cast rather than machined. The two ends appear to have been hammered into shape. Does anyone know what it is?
This object is known as a spud wrench for cast iron radiators. A spud is the threaded fitting that connects a radiator to the steam or hot water valve. This tool was designed to grip and turn those fittings during installation. The two shaped ends fit into the internal openings of different sized spuds, letting a plumber thread them in or out of the radiator. Tools like this were common through the late 1800s and early 1900s when cast iron radiators heated most homes and buildings. As modern heating systems replaced them, these wrenches became far less common.
We found this red plastic piece in an office attached to a theater, and nobody in the building recognizes it. It's about 4 by 2 by a 1/4 inch, with a ring, a hole that looks like it's for a screw, and a little needle-like spike on the back that folds out and springs closed. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a Black & Decker laser-level wall mount. This is the removable bracket that attaches a compact laser level to a surface. The screw hole lets you fix it permanently to a wall, while the small fold-out spike, or pin, pushes into drywall for a quick temporary hold without tools. The ring allows you to hang the mount from a nail or hook. The laser unit itself clips onto this bracket, projecting a level line for hanging pictures or shelves. Separated from its laser, the mount is nearly impossible to identify.
What are these small flexible plastic clips found in a box of kitchen stuff? They're 3 3/8 inches long, and all 4 are identical. I've shown them here from different angles, but I have absolutely no idea what they went with. Does anyone know what these are?
These are lid protectors for a ceramic glazed cast iron pot. When you store one of these pots, resting the heavy lid directly on the rim can chip or scratch the ceramic coating over time. These clips sit on the top edge of the pot, and the lid rests on top of them instead of on the ceramic itself. The flexible plastic acts as a soft buffer between the two surfaces, keeping the finish intact during storage. It's a simple accessory, but a smart way to protect an expensive pot.
How am I supposed to use this hanger? It came with my big steamer trunk from the 1930s or 40s. The part that could hold clothes is way down at the bottom, and I can't pass sleeves through it or hang pants. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found isn't actually a hanger, it's a divider. Inside a wardrobe trunk, several of these dividers were spaced apart, and your regular clothes hangers would sit in between them. The bar at the bottom is the key part. When the trunk was moved or tilted, that lower section held the hanging garments in place so they wouldn't bunch up or ball together. It kept everything neat and separated during travel, which was essential when your entire wardrobe was jostling around inside a heavy trunk.
Oven part. That's my guess. Maybe a bread cooling rack? It's metal wire construction, and it didn't come with the Maytag oven I have now. It was here when I moved in, so I've just been using it to cool bread. But maybe that's not what it is.
What you found is a microwave rack. It's designed to sit above the turntable inside a microwave, elevating your food so you can cook without relying on rotation. These racks are especially common with microwaves that also cook using convection, where hot air circulates around the food. The wire construction lets air and energy pass through freely. Using it as a bread cooling rack works fine too, but its original job was inside the microwave, not the oven.
What is this yellow goo? It fell out of the wiring when I was replacing my smoke and carbon monoxide detector. As I was locking the new unit into its mount and stuffing the cables back in, this blob dropped out. It's definitely not glue. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is wire-pulling lubricant, often nicknamed monkey snot by electricians. It's exactly what it sounds like. When installers need to run cables through tight conduits or junction boxes, they coat the wires with this gel. It reduces friction, letting the cables slide through cramped spaces without the insulation snagging, stretching, or tearing. Over time, the gel dries into a stringy, snot-like residue, which is why you saw it drop out during your swap. Finding a bit of it is completely normal and harmless.
What is this metal key-like object? It's about 5 inches long, and it has the number 4440 stamped on it. It doesn't look like it fits any lock I own. Does anyone know what it is?
This object is known as an S&C fused talon handler overhead handling hook, model 4440. It's a piece of equipment made by S&C Electric Company, used by utility line workers on overhead power distribution systems. Tools like this are designed to handle fuses on high-voltage lines, allowing operators to work safely from a distance. The model number 4440 identifies this specific part in the manufacturer's catalog. If you found one loose, it likely came from a lineman's kit or an electrical utility supply.
I found this weird wire-like thing inside a pillowcase at a hotel in Bulgaria. It feels like it was starched or ironed right into the fabric. It's flexible, doesn't feel like metal, and the center circular part is thicker than the rest. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is an RFID laundry tag. These tiny tags are sewn or laminated into commercial linens like sheets, towels, and pillowcases. The thin wire is actually an antenna, and the thicker circular center is a microchip. When a basket of items passes a scanner, each tag transmits its unique ID using radio waves. This lets hotels and rental services count inventory instantly instead of by hand, and they can track how many wash cycles each item has survived. They're designed to withstand hundreds of hot washes.
What is this small moving part on my espresso portafilter handle? My mom lost the manual and doesn't even remember the machine model. There's a little clicky piece near the top of the basket, but there's no compartment underneath it. The machine still works fine with it closed. Does anyone know what it's for?
It's a basket retainer clip. Its whole job is to keep the filter basket from flying out when you knock out the used coffee puck. When you brew, the basket sits loose inside the portafilter. So when you tap the grinds into the trash, you flip this piece up and it holds the basket firmly in place. Without it, the basket often falls out along with the grinds. It's a simple, handy feature that saves you from fishing the basket out of the garbage.
I was going through a box of haberdashery from a deceased estate and found this. It's a small square piece of what looks like plastic or resin with a button attached to it by a little chain. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a Bakelite cufflink. Bakelite is an early synthetic plastic, and it was commonly used to make small accessories like cufflinks and earrings. The design you have uses a chain linkage. The decorative square face on the front connects by a short chain to a smaller button on the back. You push that button through the shirt cuff hole and the chain lets it sit flat while holding the cuff closed. Similar Bakelite cufflinks and matching earrings from the same era still turn up in collections today.
I found this at my new office, a gray box about the size of my hand with a loose wire touching the water line. There's a cord hanging down with what looks like an audio or power jack. Honestly, I get a small buzz when I turn the water on. Does anyone know what it is?
It's an attachment for a sensor faucet. That gray box is the control module and battery pack for a motion sensor, the kind that starts the water automatically when you wave your hands underneath. An infrared beam detects movement and opens a solenoid valve, letting water flow without touching a handle. That said, if you're genuinely feeling a shock when the water runs, that's not normal. It suggests a real electrical fault grounding through the plumbing. Please report it to your building maintenance right away, since that could be dangerous.
What is this setup high up in my tree? There's a rope tying 2 branches together, and attached to it is a metal thing with a stack of discs on it. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a tree support cabling system, and that stack of discs is a spring. Arborists install these in large trees to reinforce heavy limbs that might snap during storms. The cable ties 2 branches together, distributing the load between them. The spring you see allows the limbs to flex naturally in the wind rather than staying rigidly locked, which reduces stress on the wood. If a branch does break, the cable controls where it falls, protecting people and property below. These are sometimes called hurricane wires, and they can keep an old tree standing safely for years.
What is this galvanized expandable device found in an older shed in Maine? It has a rope attached to a fixed loop, while the other loop moves, expanding the bottom and stretching out a chain. Does anyone know what it is?
This object is a chimney cleaner. It works using a simple mechanical principle. When you pull the rope, the movable loop shifts and expands the lower section, which stretches the chain outward against the walls of the flue. As you raise and lower the device inside the chimney, the chain scrapes and knocks debris loose from the interior surfaces. The galvanized coating helps the metal resist rust, which matters for a tool exposed to moisture and repeated use. It's a durable, low-tech design that got the job done long before powered cleaning equipment existed.
I found this clock-like object in a deceased relative's house, so I can't ask what it is. It's hand-sized and light, about the weight of a pocket watch, but the numbers on the face are completely out of order. When I wind the top, the hand spins around and slowly ticks to a stop. My relative attended a nautical school and loved naval battles. Could this be some kind of nautical instrument?
What you found is a broken pocket watch, most likely one of the inexpensive dollar watches from the Westclox brand. When these watches are overwound, an internal part snaps and the mainspring loses tension. The result is that it won't keep time, but the hands spin freely and stop in random spots. Instead of repairing it, the previous owner repurposed it into a random number picker, possibly for gambling or numerology. They likely sanded off or painted over the original dial, then drew their own lines and numbers. So it's not nautical at all, just a clever bit of homemade upcycling.
What is this curved metal band that wraps around the top of an old globe? It looks like a protractor or a ruler, and it has numbers marked along its surface as it arcs from the base up and over the sphere. Does anyone know what it is?
This object is known as the meridian ring. It's a key structural part of the globe stand, and it can be either a full circle or a half circle. Its main job is to anchor the globe's axis, holding the sphere in place while still allowing it to rotate smoothly. The numbers you see along it are latitude lines, usually marked in degrees. By reading against this ring, you can measure the position of any point north or south of the equator, making it both a support and a practical measuring tool.
What is this metal and wood object mounted on the wall of my Hampton Inn room? It's about 3.5 feet tall and 2 feet wide, sitting roughly 3 feet off the floor. It doesn't have the natural slope of shoulders, and the lower part looks jagged. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a trouser and jacket hanger. This is a common fixture in hotel rooms, designed to hold a full suit in one place. The upper section supports the jacket across the shoulders, while the lower bar holds a pair of trousers. Because it's fixed to the wall rather than hanging in a closet, it gives guests a convenient spot to lay out or air their clothing before wearing it. It's a simple, practical piece you'll spot in many mid-range hotels.
What is this portable device with a handle and an LED screen, plugged into an exterior wall near a pool? It's about the size of a car jump starter box. I only caught a quick glimpse and couldn't inspect it. Does anyone know what it is?
It's the controller and transformer for a robotic pool cleaner. Automatic pool robots run on low-voltage direct current for safety since they operate underwater. This box plugs into a standard wall outlet and steps the voltage down, then sends power through a floating cable to the robot crawling along the pool floor. The LED screen lets you select cleaning cycles, set timers, and monitor progress. Keeping the transformer up on the wall protects it from splashing water and keeps the electrical connection safely away from the pool itself.
What is this tall metal object standing in the courtyard of an abandoned house? It looks almost like an antenna or a beacon reaching up into the air, but it also has a pair of wheels at the base, which seems odd for something that tall. Does anyone know what it is?
What you found is a portable grain elevator, also called an auger. Farmers use these to move grain from ground level up into storage bins, trucks, or silos. Inside that long tube is a spiral screw, or auger, that rotates continuously. As it spins, it drags the grain upward along the tube, much like a corkscrew pulls a cork. The wheels let the whole unit be towed and repositioned. Once the harvest is in, augers like this are essential for filling tall bins quickly without any heavy lifting.
Which of these items surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. For more unknown items, check out the other videos on our channel. Hit like and subscribe.